All right. My name is James. I am an alcoholic. Uh, my story is very simple. Um, Step number one has to do, the principle has to do with honesty. And I, I guess I'm a lying connoisseur. The reason why I say that is that uh, when I was drinking and doing other things, if I opened my mouth, I was telling a lie. And to me, there is such a thing as a clear lie, where someone would say, "How you doing?" and my world would be falling apart, and I'd say, "Fine." See, that was a lie. Then there's such a thing as a white lie. You know, white represent purity. So there, I just told a pure lie. The other one was just a common lie. How you doing? To make the conversation go on, I would just tell a lie, or to build myself up or to build someone else up. Then there was a lie that I would tell that was a crucial lie, a lie that I would tell to hurt someone, or to make the situation worse than what it was. Uh, then there was a lie that I would tell that was a brutal lie, a lie that would try to destroy someone after I was gone. So these lies are something that I was very, very familiar with and I used. And one of the things that happened when things did change, I had to become honest. And I found it very easy to be honest with everybody but myself. Uh, and I knew my life was unmanageable. That was no question there. But I do know that I had to put one foot in front of the other on the right path and follow my nose. It's been an interesting journey because my son told me I had no chance. I'm 71 years old now, and when I was born, I was an alcoholic. My mother had my formula was water, milk, uh, whiskey, and sugar, and it did affect my mental faculties. And my uncles didn't help because when I was 4 years old, I would dance to a song called "Lordy Lordy Miss Claudia," and "You Sure Look Good to Me," and they would give me a sip of moonshine. Uh, One of the things that happened to me coming from step two was hope. I lost all hope while I was out there drinking. One of the things that came back to me when I did come into the program was hope. For the first time, I had hope that something good could happen and I could stop drinking. Uh, Third thing that took place was I began to have faith. I began to have faith in a group of drunks, and that took the place of God. And then later on, I found a God of my own that I choose to call Jehovah. But whether it's a doorknob, or a mountain, or a tree, or something, you got to have faith in something greater than you. I also wanted to find out who James was. I knew the things that I had did and the harm that I'd done to myself and other people. The drunk log is just about the same. I got drunk and did stupid things. Some of the things I did at the time, I was very, very ashamed of. But today, I can use it to help other people, and I do use it. Uh, my past is like a springboard for a better future, and my future is looking bright. One of the reasons why my future is looking bright, for the first time in my life, I did step four, and I had the courage to look at James for what he was. At the time, I felt like I was a no good, dilapidated imbecile with uh, nobody to love me. And I didn't think I was lovable. But when I came in the room, that was the first thing I received was love. And it made a big difference in my life. And when it comes time for you doing step four, it comes down to just you talking about you. And that's the easiest thing to do, really. If you look at the situation, either someone did something sexual to you or you did something sexual to somebody, either you stole something from somebody or somebody stole something from you, or either you lied on someone or someone lied on you. Either it doesn't really matter. As long as you didn't kill nobody, it's good to go. Uh, And even if you did, there's still hope. Uh, so no matter what it is that has happened to you in your life, you can deal with it. And if you can deal with it, you can live with it. Um, Step 5 was interesting. It had to do with integrity, taking it to someone else. You know, how do you tell someone about the things that you've done? Now here it's hard because now you're saying you have to trust someone, and the whole time you was drinking or drugging, you didn't trust no one, and now you asked to trust someone. Most of all, trust someone with your inner thoughts, and believe that they're not going to spread it all over the neighborhood or just spread it to just one person. You don't want that to happen. So by this time, you develop a form of trust to some extent. Um, then, as we look at ourselves, or as I looked at myself, I saw that my character defects was all over the place, and there was a multitude of them. But I figured I could only work at one or two at a time. And as I worked on them and got one almost under control, another one would pop up, and I had to work on that. It was like I don't know, pots with lids on them. The steam would blow them up, and I'd have to push them back down or turn the aisle down, one or the other. But it's a constant thing, and as I continue to do it, I get better at it, and it becomes less and less. I remember the one time I hit my knee. I like to cuss. I was going to cuss, and this guy was standing over me. Mark, going to see if I was going to cuss or not, and I didn't. But I went to the truck and I cussed like a sailor. but I didn't cuss in front of him. So things are changing, and it's changing fast in my life, and I'm glad that it is changing. The shortcomings, when I look at my shortcomings, it shows my humility. And when that happens, it's like shortcomings and willingness, or shortcomings and character defects, are so close together, they could have been just one. Uh, it's like I have a car in the garage, and it has two flat tires. Well, those are my character defects. My shortcoming is when I get in that car and drive around the neighborhood with it. So if I think about cussing, that's my character defects. And if I start cussing, then that's my shortcoming. That's how I relate it to. Uh, Things continue to happen in my life. You say, am I jumping all over the place? To some extent, I am. My time is limited, and I want to cover some of the main points so that it would be beneficial to you and for you. Love comes in when you have to make a list of all the people you have hurted. And I remember I wanted to go and apologize to them, but I really wasn't ready. It's when you do something and you don't expect nothing back in return. Once you make that list of all the people that you have harmed, and believe me, I was told to put the first person on that list was myself, and then work from there. As I made my list, I continued to think about what I was going to say and what I was going to do and what the result was going to be. Uh, if I opened the door for someone and they said thank you, I felt good. If I opened the door for someone and they didn't say thank you, I felt bad. But it wasn't until I could open the door for someone and whether they said thank you or they didn't say thank you, that it didn't bother me. And once that happened, my sponsor says, now you can go and start making amends. And that's where discipline came in. And that's what I did, started making amends. And then life was getting better as I was getting better. And as I got better, I saw perseverance come into play, where step 10 came up, and I had to take an inventory of myself and see how I was doing on a daily basis. And that's something that's very simple, it's so simple that you can just do it in a matter of turn, a matter of minutes. Uh, let's say I had an argument with Pete, and me and Pete just got in an argument, didn't see things eye to eye. I can very easily walk away and say, I can't, he can't, why not let him? Step 1, 2, and 3. Step 4, look at myself and see what kind of person I was while that incident went on. I was a selfish individual looking for my own interest, and I didn't want to be wrong. Step 4, I went and talked to someone, and I told them what the situation was. And once I talked to them, they was able to point out my character defects and my shortcomings. Then I had to exercise love, acknowledge the person that I offended. Then do step 9, go and talk to them. And what I just did in that short period of time, I used the principles, first 10 principles to settle a matter. And it's very easy to settle matters when you have indifferences with people, and you will have indifferences with people. There'll be misunderstanding on, and we'll get better at using these principles in our everyday life. Uh, step 10 was an awareness, and I like what it says. It says pray and meditate. It doesn't say pray or meditate. It says pray and meditate. The meditation. I worked hard with this thing called meditation because I used to sit down and go and let my mind be as free as possible and let thoughts come and go and stuff like that. But then I learned that I can meditate by picking a particular subject. Let's say love, or let's say self-control. I would take self-control and I would sit down and anything I had read, anything that I had learned, or anything that someone had told me about self-control is what I would focus on. And when my mind would start going somewhere else, I would bring it back to self-control. And I do that for a proportion of time. And then for the rest of the day, I would use self-control as a backdrop so that I could continue to focus on it. And that way it made it easier for me to get through the day exercising self-control. And then service, service is something that's ongoing. And you'd be surprised how you serve people by your conduct, by the things you do and say. They know you as what you were. They knew me as what I was. And by me doing what I'm doing, they see me completely different. I had a guy come to me and said, as a matter of fact, it just happened about a week ago. He says, I've known you and I've been watching you. And it says, you're different. You're very different than what I used to know. And I said, it's because of the 12 steps that I allowed in my life. And it has made a change. It's been a slow change, a gradual change, but it has made a change. And he said, man, you don't know how much of a change it's made. So it's a cinch by an inch, but it's hard by the yard. So we have to inch our way through this. And if we do, we'll come out on the other side. I did this first because I don't want to run out of time. I want to make sure that you understood a little bit about me before I did the drunk law. Because again, you get drunk, you do stupid stuff, and that's it. So I'm not too concerned about the stupid stuff. I'm more concerned about how I got through it, and how I got through it was by means of admitting that I was hopeless, admitting that I could no longer do this. I tried so many different ways, and it wasn't until I accept help. If you don't accept help, you're not going to get help because you're going to reject it. I had to accept help, and in accepting help, I had to come to the understanding that I couldn't do it by myself. So I was able to go to a 12-step program. I went to Pavillon and worked real well for me, but I was on heavy medication to where it didn't sink to my heart. It got in my head, but it didn't sink to my heart. 11 months later, I had to come back. And not only did it get to my heart, but it got to my, not only did it get to through my in my head, but it got to my heart. And my heart is a seed of motivation. And that said for in '06, that's when I had my last drink. Uh, and I'm glad of that. The heart is the seed of motivation. So no matter what someone tell you or what you tell other people, if it's not in your heart, it's not in your heart and your soul, it ain't gonna amount to a hill of beans. I don't know why you in the program now. If you're there because you're trying to save your business or you're trying to save your marriage, or the judge gave you a nudge, whatever, you're there. So while you're there, forget about all the reasons and try to find out, are you there for yourself? And if you're there for yourself, the chances are you will have success in spite of the reason that you were sent there or brought there. If you can come to the conclusion that I'm gonna make this thing work for myself, you you can go through it. If you go through it, you come out on the other side. But you're not gonna come out on the other side not unless you go through it. Uh, they say you can take a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. Well, if a drunk's not ready to stop drinking, he ain't gonna stop. He may go 45 days, but if he ain't ready to stop, he's not gonna stop. So ask yourself, as I had to ask myself, was I ready to stop? And then before I went to the 12-step program, I used to fool myself and go go to please my wife. I would go to AA meeting, and sometimes I go to AA meeting and leave and go get drunk because I wasn't ready. You know, and my wife wanted to save me. She sent me to like institutions. I think I've been in institutionalized over 20 times. The longest was 45 days, and the shortest was like a weekend. Um, but my wife was determined to save me. It wasn't until I was ready to be saved. It's good being here. It's good talking to you. It's good that you're listening to some of the things that I'm saying. But I find it very important for me to continue to be honest with myself because so often I don't want to drink, but my attitude and disposition put me in a position so I want to act like a drunk. I become very selfish, I become very self-centered. I become very pig-headed. And all this, and I don't have that joy. I don't portray the happiness. And all this comes from not going to my meetings like I'm supposed to. Or if I'm going to the meeting, it comes about from not doing my personal studies like I'm supposed to. Or it comes about that I'm associating, but I'm associating with those that are not working the program like they're supposed to. So I'm telling you, even though you're free from alcohol, free from drugs, you gotta watch your association. You gotta watch your association. Associate with those that are doing the right thing. If you associate with them that are doing the right thing, they'll call you on the carpet and they'll make sure that you're doing it. And the thing about it, they love you, you have to love them because you gotta call them on the carpet. Build yourself a strong network. That means people that care about you. Work with them so they can work with you. It's not easy keeping your personality growing to be the person that you want to be. But it's easier if you allow yourself to associate with those that love the principles in this program. So all I can say is I appreciate you allowing me to come in your life for these few moments. There was I like sharing this at the end of whatever it is that I'm sharing, especially when it comes to hope or doing something better, about this story of a little boy. He goes and he's gonna go to this wise old man. you want to trick the wise old man. I've seen that nobody can trick him. So he gets this little bird, he takes this little parakeet, puts it behind his back. He says, I'm going to take this bird up to the wise old man, put my hand around his neck. And the wise old man said the bird is alive. He said, I'm going to squeeze his neck until he's dead. If the wise old man said the bird is dead, he said, I'm going to pull it out and show him that the bird's alive. So he goes up to the wise old man and he says, wise old man, is this bird I have behind my back dead or alive? The wise old man looks at him and smiles, turns his head to the side, and says, whether the bird is dead or alive, it's all in your hands. And that's the reality of where we are today. That's the reality of where I am. Whether I drink, whether I don't drink, it's all in my hands. Thank you for letting me share.